Alrighty. Hello everyone. Today we're just going to be doing a presentation on CASC 2025, more specifically, what the conference is, what is going on during it, and how you can be able to best prepare for it. Our Secretary General Sachin and our Deputy Secretary General Taylor will be in the chat to answer any questions as well. And we'll be stopping during this presentation a couple of times just to answer any questions in the chat. So feel free to ask questions at any time and we'll answer them to the best of our abilities. So I guess we can go ahead and get started. So we'll just do some quick introductions. So my name is Jack Wagner. I am a fourth year staff member with MAGEC now. I started staffing with MAME in 2023 and I'll be at CASC this year chairing OAS Blue.
And then I'm George. I am I think, fifth year staff member, uh, a PhD student out at Northwestern. I will not be attending CASC, but you will see me over at Maimon. So with that, there's kind of the question. We're all here for CASC. What actually is it? CASC is kind of a special conference for us where it is focused on security councils and different summits. So we have our kind of General Security Council of the UN. We have regional summits, including the European Union, NATO, the Organization of American States, and the Pacific Island Forum. And then we also have some social activities as we do with all of our conferences. This year, CASC is taking place in Lansing, Michigan, December 5th through 6th, and we're excited to have you all here.
Yeah, so in terms of the schedule, this is a 2-day conference. So Friday, December 5th is going to be the first day, starting at 8:30 to 9:15. You can register all your students. Then from 9:15 to 9:45, this will be the opening session where we basically bring everyone in to start the entire conference, introduce our staff, and go over how everything's going to work. Then once that is done, your students will be sent to their committee rooms where from 9:45 to 10:30. It'll be either country caucuses if your students are in security councils, or a rule session if you're in a regional summit. We'll have more information on that in just a second. Then starting from 10:30 to 12:30 will be the first round of council sessions. From 12:30 to 2 will be a lunch break. Then after that until 5:30 will be the second round of council sessions as well. From 2:30 to 3:30, we'll also have a meeting for the advisors as well to meet with some of our staff. Um, from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. will be a dinner break. And then the last council session of the day will be from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. at night. Following that will be our big social event, which is the delegate dance, which we'll have more information on in some later slides. And then on Saturday, starting from 9 a.m. until 12 p.m. That'll be the first round of council sessions for the second day of the conference. Starting at 11 a.m. will be another advisor meeting. From 12 to 1:30, we'll have a lunch break. And then from 1:30 to 3:15, that will be the last round of council sessions. And then immediately following that will be our closing session. We'll hand out awards to some of the delegates and just close things off.
In terms of what the Security Council caucuses and the rule session are going to consist of, on Friday morning, delegates are going to be given an opportunity to discuss policy with other delegates representing their country in the other councils. It's going to be a fairly informal session with some guidance from the MAGEC staff, just on some topics to discuss and how they can relate to each country. This is really an opportunity for you guys to meet the other delegates who may not be in your committee but are representing your country, brainstorm some ideas for what you want to talk about in council, discuss the topic, and then for those who aren't in Security Council committees, your chair is going to walk you through some of the council-specific rules and parliamentary procedure that's used for your committee. Since the European Union, NATO, all of those, they're not UN bodies. They operate a little differently, and we're going to be following those protocols.
Yeah, so more information on the security councils themselves. So our security council simulations are designed to operate by the rules of the actual United Nations Security Council. So each of the councils will consist of 15 delegates, including the P5 nations, which are the United States, United Kingdom, France, China, and Russia. The Security Council has two assigned topics, which are currently on the MAGEC website. And the Security Council also have different voting rules than summits, like George mentioned. The main thing is that the P5 nations will have veto power. And this simulation just allows delegates to address the current topics being debated by the actual UN Security Council and get an idea of what types of topics that they discuss, along with just getting some knowledge behind some of the international issues going on around the world.
Moving away from the Security Council, there are four different regional summits that are going to be debated. So we have NATO, or the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the EU, or the European Union, the Organization of American States, or the OAS, and the Pacific Island Forum, or the PIF. For all of these, the agenda topics are set, and delegates are going to be submitting resolutions during debate at the conference. So when you're actually there in committee, you're going to take your time to actually debate the topics, draft your amendments, and then vote on the resolutions. It's not going to be something where you are pre-submitting resolution to these committees.
Yeah. And then also that'll be the same thing for the Security Councils. Resolutions will be written during the actual simulations themselves. So for all five of our councils and summits, you'll be doing all of the resolution writing during the actual committee sessions. And speaking of the regional summits, like we mentioned before, since they aren't UN bodies, they have their own special rules that we will follow. On this slide is just an overview of some of the rules that these summits will have. Again, our chairs will be going over the more specific details on the morning of the actual first committee session. But if you have any questions or want to look at those ahead of time, you can see our website for more specific details. But just a high-level overview. In NATO, everything will be done with simple majority voting, and there are three types of submitted documents that delegates can write, being declarations, recommendations, and resolutions. For the European Union, any procedural motions will be simple majority voting. As for any substantive matters, this will be a qualified majority, which is based on population scales. For OAS, this is just simple majority voting, except for the closure of debate. And then for PIF, will just be simple majority voting. Again, your chairs will go over more specific details with this on the morning of the first council session.
Outside of committee, we have our delegate social event on Friday night, which is everyone's favorite, the delegate dance. Um, and then just as a note, all of the social events are fully chaperoned by MAGEC staff just to ensure everyone's safety. And what's nice, because it is December and it is cold, everything is located in the hotel or the connected Lansing Center. You don't have to go anywhere else for our social events.
And then, are there any questions at all? Again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We can answer them right now, and also Taylor and Sachin are also in the chat to help with those. Okay. Moving on, let's talk about now some pre-conference requirements. So the main question that we always get is what is expected of the delegates prior to arriving. The main thing that delegates need to worry about is the committee position papers. In order to be considered for awards for all of our committees, each delegate needs to submit individual position papers by 11:59 p.m. on November 23rd, 2025. Each topic needs to have one paper submitted for it. So if you're in the Security Council and you're representing the United Kingdom, you need to represent one paper for both of the topics you're presenting or debating on, excuse me. So you need to make sure you're submitting two position papers by this date. And again, these position papers are required in order to be considered for any and all awards. The submission links are found here on our website, www.maimononline.com/casc/position papers. So make sure that you are looking at our website for what topics you need to be writing on and how to submit those.
Just to give some additional info, as Jack said, the position papers are required for if you want to be considered, if you want to be eligible for awards, and I think most people do, so make sure that you do remember to submit both of your position papers. Each individual paper it has a maximum of 400 words, so you can't go over that. We have a rubric which we will show, but in reality, the position paper is basically your way to provide what your country thinks about the topic, what solutions they propose. It's really just to give a framework for all of your research and what you're going to be debating. There's also a ton of resources available at the Maven website. If you just go on there, you'll see a page called Position Paper Guide under the Team Resources tab, and that will be very, very helpful when you're trying to draft them.
So for the actual submission of position papers, we only accept online submissions. Again, we have the link that I mentioned 2 slides ago. Delegates need to submit one form for each topic in their council. The actual submission itself should not be any type of electronic document file, so no docx, no PDF. We have a specific form that we have delegates fill out where you just need to copy and paste the text of your position paper into the form and submit it. Um, Make sure that you are putting in all the information correctly before submitting. For instance, a big thing is that the name entered on this form will be used for credentials at CASC. Additionally, making sure that you're putting in the country that you represent, for instance, so that we don't have like multiple United States submissions, for example. That's a common thing. And then one other main thing is plagiarism slash use of Gen AI is strictly prohibited at our conferences. Starting this year, we have a certified AI policy, which we will be adhering to very closely. Again, the purpose of these conferences is to encourage original human writing, not something made by ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you guys use nowadays. So if you have questions about it, please refer to this AI policy that is on our website and linked here. Again, making sure that you're not breaking any of these rules.
So now that you are writing your position paper, what should be included? As a staff, the main things we're going to be looking for is starting off with a background, just introduce the topic, give us the information that you feel is really relevant to the topic, your country's position on the topic, and propose some ways to address or resolve the issues. We are gathering as a body, not just to say, here's all the things wrong with the world, but figure out what solutions can be put in place to try and solve them. As a note, spelling, grammar, your overall writing style is evaluated. So make sure you're taking care to spell things properly, use proper grammar, and try and write a cohesive essay rather than just listing a bunch of bullet points.
So based on the three areas that George pointed out, this is just how to write like an actual position paper. So for the first point on just the general background, this is where you want to describe the topic's historical origins, and why it's important to the international community. For this, you're able to take a general approach to the topic itself, or if you'd like, you can focus on a specific aspect of the topic. One thing to keep in mind is that this background section should be focused on the topic at large, not just specifically your country's historical involvement with the topic. So when you're writing that background section, just make sure to keep it general to the overall topic, how it's important to the international community, not only just your country. You can elaborate on this more in the next section, which is specifically about researching your country's policy on the topic. So when you're looking for this, you should probably ask yourself the question, what global efforts related to the topic your country has been a part of, your country's organizations and or agencies have participated in. Just by doing this, you'll be able to write like a pretty good position paper, just focusing on how your country has actually contributed to solving the issues you're going to be debating during CASC, along with just giving you some background information on what kind of points you can bring up when you're writing your resolutions, for instance. And lastly, for the final section, you'd want to develop some kind of resolution that is both realistic and creative. This could just be a simple paragraph stating what you plan to bring forward during committee. For instance, if you want to create some kind of regional body, how you envision that. Um, Basically, just anything that you can think will be helpful towards the actual debate itself and what your plan is in order to help solve this issue.
In terms of resources that are available on the MAGEC website, we have some examples of position papers. Those can be very helpful if you feel like you're struggling to just kind of have any idea where to start. You can look at your country's foreign policy or foreign relations website. That can give a lot of information about kind of your country's general stances. Sometimes they'll have articles on where they stand for specific issues. Again, for specific issues, you can also look at the voting record. So look at how they voted on UN resolutions for that topic. That can tell you a lot of information about what specific things your country cares about, what specific aspects are maybe no-goes for them. And then outside of that, we have a public grading rubric to keep everything transparent so you guys can get an idea of exactly what we as a staff are going to be looking for when we're grading your position papers. So Jack will talk you through that.
Yeah, so for this position paper rubric, again, it's based on the factors that we just talked about, the background policy proposal, and then some weight for formatting and grammar. So again, for the background, this is 25% of the actual position paper grade that your students will receive. This should be providing a brief summary of the events which have occurred and the actions that the international community has taken to address the topic. So again, making sure this section is about the whole topic, not just specifically how your delegate's country is involved with it, just an overall view of how that works. For the policy, this is where your delegates will be explaining their current position and their involvement to date. This should consider including any notable quotes from your country's leaders, statistics, or other information to support your country's involvement in the topic. This is 40%, so again, this is probably a large majority of the actual grade itself. For the proposal, can just be a little section about how your country intends to help resolve the topic, more specifically answering the question of what actions does your country want to see the committee address. This will be another 25% in the grade. And then the last 10% is just on formatting and grammar. So any model position papers should be thoroughly reviewed for grammar and spelling errors. Any repeated errors may result in a lowered score. So again, just before you submit it, make sure you're doing some grammar checks and just looking over everything.
All right. With that, we're actually going to pause for a second. Now is a great time if you have any questions about writing position papers, formatting, anything like that. You can ask them in the chat now, and such can Taylor can help answer those. So we'll just take a second for that. Okay. So you've written your position paper, you did all your research. Now, what do I actually bring to conference? In terms of clothes, all of our conferences require Western business attire. You need that for both the sessions on Friday and Saturday. Outside of that, you should bring some comfier clothes for the events after the committee. You want to bring supplies for what you're actually going to need in committee. If you can, you should bring a laptop or a tablet. Other than that, you absolutely bring pens and pencils. You're going to be doing a lot of handwriting. Bring any research that you've done, whether it's printed out papers, if you make a binder, that can be very, very helpful. And then any other resources that you prep beforehand. In addition, please bring water. Everyone needs to stay hydrated. Bring a water bottle that you can fill. Snacks, make sure that you bring money for food, medications, band-aids, toiletries, any of those other personal items. We're going to give you credentials that you will wear throughout the conference. Those have to stay on anytime you're in the conference, just so we know this random person is part of CASC and not just a random person in the hotel. Uh, in addition, that does include during social events. We will tell you this again and again and again. Bring your credentials to the delegate dance, otherwise, you will have to go up and get them.
So in terms of pre-conference resources, again, we've been mentioning our website a lot. The reason being is because we have a lot of resources for you guys to help succeed at these conferences. Again, we've mentioned position paper guidance, elaborates more on what we've talked about during this session. We have sample resolutions, for instance, and how to write resolutions for CASC itself. So make sure to definitely look over that, especially before you go into your first committee session, just so you know what our staff is expecting for these resolutions and the formatting. We have guides on our parliamentary procedure as well. So make sure to review that. The committee topics itself, so that you're able to know what your countries are actually going to be debating during committee, and so that you're able to write proper research papers on them. And then we also have some guides on how to conduct research, along with some additional resources to guide you towards some starting points. If you can also see below our YouTube page, this includes a bunch of how-to videos for how to succeed at our conferences, including guides for, again, more parliamentary procedure that has been recorded by our staff in the past and has been used as a resource for delegates to help succeed at our conferences.
So, some important dates to keep in mind. All position papers are due by 11:59 on November 23rd. There are no exceptions, there's no extension, so make sure have them done by November 22nd so that you can submit them by midnight on November 23rd. CASC Junior is going to take place on December 4th, and then CASC itself will be taking place December 5th through 6th. With that, thank you guys for attending. Please, if you have any questions, ask them in the chat. We would be happy to answer them.
So I think I see one question about, is there a curfew at CASC and what time is that at? So again, our social event on Friday ends at 11:30 p.m. and then after the students should be in their hotel room. So we have a curfew of midnight for that, just to ensure that all delegates are back in their hotel rooms safely and securely. Again, we'll have staff throughout both the social events and following that, just to make sure that everyone's in the room and in the right location, and also just to provide some extra security during this event, since again, the Lansing Center and the hotel are public spaces. And then another question that I see, is there a specific format for resolutions? Do I need to pre-submit them? Again, on our website, we have a specific format for how resolutions should be done. And then we don't pre-submit them for CASC. Again, all resolutions and amendments will be written during the actual committee sessions itself during the conference.
And then an additional question I saw, just what actually is Western business attire? That term gets thrown around a lot. The pictures on screen are actually a really good example. Generally, that's going to be suits, pantsuits, dresses, things that things that you would expect to see if you're walking around the fancy part of town, basically. If you have any questions, you can always Google that, reach out to staff. We have a more detailed guide on the website. Um, and with that, please, any other questions, feel free to ask.